Permitted development rights can unlock serious value in UK property, but only when the right actually applies. They can help you extend, convert, change use, or reposition a property without going through the full planning route every time. That sounds powerful, but here is the problem. Permitted development does not mean automatic approval. It does not mean every property qualifies, and it does not mean the council has no say. A project may look like permitted development on the surface, but once you check the property type, planning constraints, change of use, planning history, and target outcome, the route may change completely. What looked like permitted development may actually need prior approval. What looked like prior approval may need full planning permission. What looked simple may need a lawful development certificate before you move forward. And for rural buildings, the correct route may be Class Q. That is why the first question is not, can I do this? The first question is, which planning route actually applies? Choosing the wrong planning route affects more than the application form. It affects the drawings you need. It affects the evidence required. It affects the consultant team. It affects the timeline. It affects the council fee. It affects the risk level, and it affects whether the project has a realistic chance of success. That is exactly why we created the Planning Permission Decoder. The Planning Permission Decoder is designed to give you early route clarity before you commit time or money. Instead of guessing whether your project needs permitted development, prior approval, full planning permission, a lawful development certificate, or Class Q, the tool asks you 6 simple questions. First, you select your project type, then you select the property type. Next, you identify any known planning constraints, such as listed building status, conservation area, greenbelt, national park or AONB, Article 4 direction, or no known constraints. The tool then asks whether the project involves a change of use. It asks what planning history exists for the site, and it asks what final use or outcome you are trying to achieve. Based on those answers, the Planning Permission Decoder gives you a recommended planning route. It does not just give a route name. It also gives you an expected timeline, an indicative cost range, a success rate indication, and a short explanation of why that route applies. The goal is simple. Answer 6 questions. Understand the likely route, see the risk level, and decide whether the project deserves deeper due diligence. Permitted development can be a powerful route. It may allow certain works or changes without a full planning application, provided the proposal meets the relevant limits and conditions. This can apply to certain householder extensions, roof alterations, outbuildings, changes of use, and other defined categories. But permitted development is not automatic. The property must qualify. This is why the Planning Permission Decoder does not simply ask, do you want to avoid planning? It helps you check whether permitted development is realistically the right route for the project you are considering. Prior approval is often misunderstood. Some developers hear that a project can proceed under prior approval and assume that the council has very little involvement. That is not correct. Prior approval is still a planning process. The council may assess specific matters depending on the route. These can include transport, highways, contamination, flooding, noise, natural light, fire safety, design, or impact on the local area. For commercial to residential projects, prior approval can be a valuable route, but only when the building, use class, vacancy position, size, and local restrictions are properly checked. The Planning Permission Decoder helps identify when prior approval may be relevant, so you do not confuse it with full planning or simple permitted development. Some projects require full planning permission. This is usually the route when the proposal goes beyond permitted limits, changes the character of a property, creates new dwellings, affects neighbours, introduces major design changes, or sits within a sensitive planning context. Full planning may require a stronger design case, more detailed drawings, policy justification, planning statements, surveys, and sometimes specialist reports. The Planning Permission Decoder helps you identify when full planning is likely, so you can prepare properly instead of assuming there is a shortcut. A lawful development certificate, often called an LDC, can be important when you want formal confirmation that a proposal is lawful. This may be useful where the work appears to fall under permitted development, but you want written confirmation from the council before starting. It can also be useful when selling, refinancing, or reducing future risk. An LDC is not the same as planning permission. It is a legal confirmation that the proposed or existing development is lawful based on the evidence submitted. The Planning Permission Decoder helps you understand when an LDC may be the sensible route, especially when the project looks permitted but still needs certainty. Class Q can allow certain agricultural buildings to be converted into residential use, subject to strict conditions and prior approval. This route can create significant value, but it is also highly technical. The agricultural use history matters. The structure matters. The building's location matters. The extent of works matters, and the council will still assess relevant prior approval matters. A barn or rural building may look like a conversion opportunity, but that does not mean it qualifies. The Planning Permission Decoder helps flag when Class Q may be relevant, so the project can be assessed through the correct lens from the start. The Planning Permission Decoder is part of the wider PCMA approach. PCMA helps property entrepreneurs move from information overload to clearer development decisions. The goal is not just to learn planning terms. The goal is to understand how planning route, design, compliance, cost, timeline, and value connect. The tool gives you a first route recommendation. From there, serious opportunities may need deeper review, drawings, planning strategy, consultant input, and financial modeling. That is where professional support becomes important. If you are assessing a project and you are not sure which planning route applies, use the Planning Permission Decoder first. Answer 6 questions about your project and get a clear recommendation on whether the likely route is permitted development, prior approval, full planning permission, a lawful development certificate, or Class Q. You will also see the likely timeline, cost range, success rate indication, and 5 practical tips to improve your application. This is designed to help you avoid guessing, avoid the wrong route, and make a clearer decision before committing time or money. Before you spend on drawings, surveys, or applications, decode the route first. Use the Planning Permission Decoder now. The link is below.